Tonight, on First at 9 this Sunday the 30th of November 2025. Alarms blazing. Red alert issued to Kalani River Basin. Over 200 rescued as fractures appear in the Mavilaru Dam. 256 roads, 15 major bridges damaged. Mayday. SLAF rescue helicopter crashes into River Gin. Armed forces continue to rescue those affected by floods and landslides. Useful utilities. Need a month to repair all power failures, says the CEB. Fuel prices to remain unrevised. NWSDB promises drinking water to Kandy within the next 24 hours. Helping hands. Japan deploys medical assistance to flood-ravaged Sri Lanka. Australia spares $1 million Australian for immediate response and recovery efforts. All ears. Sri Lanka tunes in as President Dissanayaka addresses the nation.
Kalin baby so rupiyal 90කට. Kalin baby podi හැමෝටමයි.
This is Manusath Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9 on the Manusath Derana News channel. I'm Aditya Drisingha joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world, brought to you by the only Sri Lankan media network to rise to the pinnacle across all media platforms, recognized as the best by every servant, beloved by the people. Now in your top story tonight, a Sri Lanka Air Force Bell 212 helicopter deployed on disaster relief operations crashed in Vennapu this afternoon. Only the pilot was on board at the time of the accident and is reported to have sustained injuries. However, aerial operations continued throughout the day to rescue people in flood and landslide affected areas, with both Indian and Pakistani helicopters joining rescue efforts in a show of regional support.
A Sri Lanka Air Force Bell 212 helicopter deployed on disaster relief operations in the Vennapu-Lunavilla area crashed into River Ging. Reports indicate that only the pilot was on board at the time of the accident. Rescue operations are currently underway and the pilot is reported to have sustained injuries. However, rescue operations continued throughout the day, with 24 people, including a pregnant woman, 2 patients and foreigners who were displaced due to the disaster situation in Kotmale, being rescued by an Indian Air Force Mi-17 helicopter.
We have wanted to say thank you so much to all of the Sri Lankan forces, the Indian Police forces, even more so the owner of the hotel where we were, who had kept us fed and watered.
Thank you, Sri Lanka people. Thank you for everything.
Meanwhile, a Sri Lanka Air Force rescue team rescued 3 people trapped inside a flooded house in Punchkulam, Vaunia. 4 people trapped in the Somawati area were rescued by a Bell 412 helicopter belonging to the 4th Squadron of the Sri Lanka Air Force's Ratmalana base. 54 patients, including infants, young children and pregnant mothers who were receiving treatment at Chilau General Hospital, were brought to Putlam by a Sri Lanka Air Force helicopter. As the flood situation worsened in Kalanimulla, rescue operations were carried out with the intervention of the Navy and police. Airborne assistance was provided to people trapped in their homes in Kalanimulla with a Pakistan Navy aircraft. Meanwhile, joining the special live coverage of the prevailing disaster situation broadcast on TV Derana and other Derana News channel, Sri Lanka Air Force spokesperson Group Captain Eranda Giganage commented on ongoing aerial missions to rescue affected communities.
The Air Force officials who are engaged in the rescue operations have run into certain operational hurdles because of the inclement weather. Can you please speak to us what the particular hurdles are?
Yeah, when you're looking at the helicopter operation, main barrier is the weather. Low visibility is the most difficult part to us.
How many people have you saved thus far?
As of now, today, when you're looking at the morning, we conducted 40 rescue operations. As of now, we rescue 87 people.
We know that certain areas have been landlocked because of the landslides and all of that. Is it possible to send in drones or other equipment that maybe surveil the environment and figure out a path for the authorities to clear out to go there?
If the weather is clear, a drone can be utilized. Now the weather is little okay, now we can utilize the drone.
When you talk about the Indians and the Pakistani Air Force personnel, naval personnel coming in to assist us, are they bringing in different technology that we don't have? have, or what are they actually bringing
No,
in?
basically we are doing the rescue operation. When you're looking at Cheetah helicopter, it is also having the winch operation. Same kind of equipment they are having.
So it's not that we don't have the technology, it's that our resources are spread thin. That's why we want the assistance, is
Yeah,
it?
when you're looking at the basic operation here, whatever the equipment we have is sufficient now.
What sort of assistance is the Air Force providing to facilitate these international teams that are touching
Yeah, we are coordinating and we are providing our pilots and the engineers who assist the international aircraft.
When you decide the particular team that gets on board of a helicopter,
Yes.
what's the kind of manpower that's usually required?
Yeah, when you're looking at the rescue operation, we are normally carrying out the special regiment force because they are the people who train for that particular operation. Helicopter operation, we have the two types of operation, winch operation and the rope rescue operation. Those who are trained for that, we are utilizing for that.
Have Air Force medics too contributed to these efforts?
Yes, when you're looking at the aeromedical team, we are converting one of the helicopters for the aeromedical team. If it is need, we can utilize that also.
If there's a message that you want to share with the people, what would that be?
First thing is be patient. Other thing is need to be coordinated to the disaster management center or central office, which you are having any difficulty, then we can provide the assistance as soon as possible. When you contact the Sri Lanka Air Force, you can contact 116 and the other number is 117.
In addition to aerial operations, the Sri Lanka Air Force also engaged in ground rescue operations. A group of people trapped in the floodwaters in Kaduwela were rescued by Air Force rescue teams this morning. The Sri Lanka Police, in conjunction with relief teams, also engaged in rescue operations.
ඔබේ සම හඳුනාගෙන ඖෂධීය ශාකසාරමය Forever face wash එකක් භාවිතා කරන්න.
අප වෙනුවෙන් කැපවූ ලංකාවේ අපේ අංක 1 ජාලය ඩයලොග්.
දවටනේ නියම මිල සඳහන් ස්විස්ටෙක් නිෂ්පාදන මිලදී ගන්න. ස්විස්ටෙක් ගන්න ඕන හොඳම තීරණය.
Now, President Anuradha Dissanayake, addressing the public, says that all necessary measures, regardless of their scope, will be taken to provide relief to the people of the country. Addressing the nation a short while ago, the President said that Sri Lanka has faced the most devastating natural disaster in its history and that the country will have to commit to a level of national rebuilding never seen before. He states that the government's priority at the moment is to save lives and that resources have been deployed for rescue operations and the provision of relief. During his speech, the President expressed appreciation for the support extended by neighboring nations in assisting rescue operations. He also said that all financial restrictions have been lifted to allow state officials to utilize financial resources to their fullest capacity. The President further states that the government has prioritized the restoration of infrastructure facilities and expects to restore basic services soon. The Disaster Management Center reports that the adverse weather patterns across the island have claimed the lives of 334 persons, with another 370 being unaccounted for. Issuing its latest report, the DMC notes that over 1 million people remain affected following the heavy flooding and massive landslides prompted by incessant rains.
Incessant rains that lashed across the country during the past few days resulted in massive landslides in several areas, claiming numerous lives. In Kandumalla in Malsiripura, a mound of earth collapsed early yesterday morning, burying approximately 10 homes and tragically claiming 5 lives, including a 3-year-old infant. Authorities confirmed that 9 more people are missing, with rescue operations being hindered by the continuing risk of further landslides in the area. Additional footage from social media displays the landslide near the Ulapane brick culvert along Navalapitiya Kandy Main Road. The search for those missing after the landslide in Pudukkulam in Ibagamu is currently underway. The remains of a mother and daughter were found buried under the debris today, with reports claiming that about 9 others remain unaccounted for. In addition, the wreckage of a van parked at the house has also been recovered. Meanwhile, this morning, a landslide struck the Bambava area on Galewala Matale Road, while another landslide occurred in Mahantegama in Mavanalla. Search and rescue teams have been deployed in these areas to locate the missing. In Rendapala in Valimada, 5 persons are reported missing following a landslide. Remains of 2 persons have been recovered, and security forces have begun evacuating displaced residents, including foreign nationals, to safer locations. Another landslide in Rambukwala, Ankumara, resulted in the destruction of approximately 20 homes. In Ahaliyagoda, Godampala, 2 residences and the main road connecting Hinguragala Kanda to Ahaliyagoda were completely destroyed following the collapse of a mound of earth. Subsequently, 32 local residents were evacuated. Meanwhile, a landslide occurred in Aranayaka claiming 5 lives. Authorities are yet to assess the extent of the damage. In Kothmale, a landslide near Paluwatta Thalavakale rendered the area inaccessible, leaving local residents stranded. Several landslides were also reported from Nallathanya, where 3 homes were damaged in the Rikatan village and over 10 acres of soil in the vicinity of Nagaviharaya temple has eroded. Efforts are underway to restore Nuvareliya Hatton Road, which was also impacted by landslides. In the Mahakanda Sarasavigama area of Peradeniya, the remains of 14 victims were recovered from a recent landslide, with search operations still underway. Meanwhile, a landslide in Babarabadda in Hunaskiriya has displaced about 400 individuals who are now housed at safe locations. Taking the prevailing situation into account, the National Building Research Organisation issued warning level 3 red evacuation warnings to Badulla, Colombo, Kandy, Kegol, Kurunagala, Matale and Nuvareliya districts, while warning level 2 amber advisories were issued for Gampaha, Kalutara, Monaragala and Ratnapura districts. In the meantime, the Road Development Authority announced the closure of a section of the Colombo-Kandy main road in Yakkala due to the collapse of a bridge. Traffic is being diverted and alternative routes are advised. The Director General of the Road Development Authority assured that restoration efforts are underway and authorities are working to return these vital routes to functionality as soon as possible. In its latest report, the Disaster Management Centre reports a tragic toll with 334 confirmed deaths and 370 individuals still missing due to the widespread disaster affecting all 25 districts across the island. The Kandy district experienced the highest number of fatalities with 88 lives lost.
We have identified certain locations where entire families have been buried under debris for several days. However, we have identified 47 locations where remains could be buried under rubble. Several villages continue to be inaccessible, further complicating recovery operations. This crisis unfolded while a substantial number of tourists are visiting the country. Fortunately, there have been no reports of foreign nationals being among the casualties. At popular tourist destinations such as Alla and Haputale, all tourists have been confirmed to be safe and unharmed.
In Badulla, the second most severely affected district, 71 deaths have been recorded. Moreover, 53 individuals from the area remain unaccounted for. The Disaster Management Centre also reports that 1,118,929 people belonging to 309,607 families have been affected by the disaster situation across the island. Of these, 196,790 displaced individuals have sought refuge in 1,494 designated safe locations.
Sri Lanka continues to face severe flooding as water levels in some areas, including the Kalani River, continue to rise, affecting residents' lives and prompting significant evacuations. In response to the current situation, the Irrigation Department has extended its red alert for the Kalani River Basin for the next 48 hours. Meanwhile, several fractures appeared on the embankment of the Mavila Reservoir, prompting the authorities to evacuate over 200 residents, an operation directly supervised by the President.
Although Sri Lanka is witnessing a reduction in rainfall at present, several districts continues to face flood situations. Reservoirs including Rajanganaya, Angamuwa, Polgolla, Veheragala, Rantambe, Lunugambehera, Kalabava and Daduroya continue to release excess water. The highest rainfall of the past 24 hours was recorded in Pulia-Pokkane in Mana at 210 mm, while several other locations in Jaffna and Kegol also received significant rainfall. Even though the influence of Cyclone Ditwa reduced today, several areas in the vicinity of River Kalani were affected by the river's increasing water levels. Low-lying areas that were already submerged experienced increased water levels compared to last night. According to the Nagalam Water Gorge in Colombo, the water level early today was at 7.4 feet and it had risen to 7.55 feet by evening. Meanwhile, at the Hangwala water gorge, the water level increased up to 35 feet, raising concern of a major flood situation. The Sri Lanka Land Development Corporation announced the overflowing of the Ambatale Dam due to the persistent increase in water flowing into River Kalani. The corporation emphasizes the necessity of implementing appropriate safety measures to protect people residing between the dam and Malabe-Kaduwala main road, as well as those residing in low-lying areas around it. With the overflow of the Ambatale Dam, water levels in areas surrounding River Kalani, including Kaduwala, Walibita, Kolonnawa, Ambatale, Galwana, Angoda, Kotikawatta, Wellampitiya, Kalani and Sedawatta increased this morning. The Ambatale water treatment and pumping station was also inundated. However, an official of the pumping station confirmed that despite the flooding, there is no threat of disruptions to the water supply to Colombo or its suburbs. Kaduwala city was completely submerged, leading to significant traffic disruptions. Colombo District Secretary Prasanna Ginige commented on the prevailing flood situation.
Colombo district ke pasugiya dinawala ඇති වූ
Today we witnessed an increase in flood waters in Colombo. Water levels have increased in the Kolonnawa, Colombo and Kaduwala Divisional Secretariat divisions. Due to the overflowing of the Ambatale Dam, there is a risk of flooding in the low-lying areas along Kaduwala, Malabe Road, Aturugire Malabe Road and Malabe Bataramula Road. Last night, residents in these areas were requested to evacuate. We have prepared safe locations for them in Yashodhara Mahavidyalaya, Pittugala and Malabe Model School. We request those in need of assistance to proceed to these locations.
The Irrigation Department states that the water level of River Kalani may rise further in areas downstream of Hangwala. The department further extended its red alert flood warning issued for the Kalani River basin for 48 hours. Access roads to the Aturugiriya interchange of the Southern Expressway and the Aturugiriya area remain submerged. Meanwhile, several localities in Gampa district were affected by the overflowing of Attanagaloya. Due to rainfall received in the downstream areas of the basin, Attanagaloya continued to remain at a minor flood level as indicated by the Dunamale water gorge. A bridge on Colombo-Negombo main road in Jayala is closed to traffic due to fractures that have developed in one section. Officials from Jayala Urban Council and the Road Development Authority are working to increase drainage near the bridge by removing accumulated debris such as tree roots and logs. Meanwhile, several fractures appeared on the embankment of Mavilaru Reservoir and several villages including Kinnia began to be submerged as the water started to flow down.
A certain section of the Mavilaru embankment was breached a few minutes ago. We believe that the further damage to the embankment within a few minutes. However, we have been preparing for this moment and have been evacuating people for the past 2 days. A significant number of people have been evacuated and we are currently working to evacuate others as well. This operation is being conducted under the supervision of the President and the Secretary of Defence. 3 helicopters have been deployed for rescue operations. We believe that we will be able to conduct this mission as efficiently as possible.
Amid the situation, the Disaster Management Steering Committee in Trincomalee convened to facilitate the provision of relief to those affected. The operation to rescue those trapped near Mavilaru Reservoir was carried out under the direct supervision of President Anura Dissanayake. The aerial operations were conducted by the Air Force using a Bell 412 helicopter and an Mi-17 helicopter. More than 200 lives were saved as a result of these efforts. Polonnaro Batiklo main road continues to be submerged in Gallalla in Manampitiya. Meanwhile, the Road Development Authority has already begun work on repairing roads and bridges in Polonnaro as floodwaters recede. When the spill gates of Murugahakanda Reservoir were opened, a section of the bridge on Murugahakanda Kaluganga Road was washed away by the floodwaters, but it was reported today that floodwaters have receded in the area. Meanwhile, a section of Anuradhapura Puttalam main road has been completely destroyed due to the heavy flow of water from Rajangane Reservoir. Authorities advise the public to use alternative routes to avoid the affected area. As Cyclone Ditwa is gradually moving towards the coast of Tamil Nadu, the northern province was affected where the overflowing Iranamadu Reservoir in Kilnochi left several low-lying areas and roads submerged. With many tanks overflowing due to water flowing through Malwatu Oil, many low-lying areas in Mana district are underwater. Mana Madawachia main road and Mana Jaffna main road are completely submerged.
30% discount on Apico Farm and Spring mattresses available at Apico Supercenter and Apico Daily.
ෆීනික්ස් නත්තල් ෆියස්ටා නොවැම්බර් 13 සිට 16 දක්වා අනුරාධපුර ස්පොට්නික් ක්‍රීඩා පිටියේදී
Now, as floods persist in the aftermath of Cyclone Ditwa, health authorities warn affected communities to avoid contact with contaminated water as much as possible, as the risk of leptospirosis remains high. Doctors also advise the consumption of boiled water and the thorough cleaning of fruits and vegetables prior to consumption to mitigate the risks of diarrhea and dysentery. The current concern is that contaminated water may be around, and with vegetables and green leaves, the concern is, will water contaminate this food? How can we address that?
Yeah, definitely. In the very acute stage, we do not recommend to eat raw vegetables and raw fruits because of that particular risk. When the water supply is established to the displaced camps, they must wash fruits and vegetables thoroughly. Thereafter only they must eat fruits and vegetables. So I would like to inform the community, when they go back to their homes, the risk is still there because there will be stagnant water mixed with waste, and also sanitary toilets spill out. So therefore they need to clean their homes, especially the water sources like wells. They have to clean the well. For that they can use chlorine. So we have made sure availability of chlorine, and also there's a high risk of leptospirosis, diarrhea, and also filariasis, dengue, and so on. We have made sure that prophylaxis treatments made available within the camps. So we need the support from the community to follow the instructions given by the public health staff.
How does a parent identify when to take the child to expert care, to the doctors?
The first question should be to prevent it. Exactly. Not to go to a doctor, not to go to a hospital, but to prevent infection, prevent these diseases, especially following floods. We see dysentery, typhoid, diarrhea, leptospirosis, bilioidosis, influenza, dengue. Most of these diseases, especially diarrhea, we can prevent by giving boiled water.
Right, so that's very important. Boiled water consumption.
Yeah, boiled water and clean water. Second thing, hygienic food. These days you will see more and more flies. You can prevent flies coming to your food.
Are there particular vitamins or medicinal supplements we can take to boost our immunity?
Zinc will help reduce diarrhea.
The doctor, you spoke to us a little bit about symptoms of leptospirosis. Could you kindly walk us through?
Fever for 3 to 7 days, abdominal pain, eyes become yellow, urine can become red. We can prevent it only by giving doxycycline 200 mg once a week.
And the prevention is to avoid stepping into contaminated water, just avoid flood water altogether, is that right?
Yes.
How have the authorities, particularly Lady Ridgeway Hospital, responded to the crisis, and what is the state of the innocent child patients in the facility at the moment?
As health staff, we all work 24 hours a day and even 7 days a week. I'm on call for 13 days continuously, and only one day after 13 days we'll get leave. Other staff also same, doctors, nurses, junior staff, we all work day and night. Don't worry, at any time, emergency, you come to us, we'll treat.
Now, the Department of Meteorology reports that Cyclone Ditwa has moved away from Sri Lanka, leading to a reduction in rainfall. The department also dismisses circulating rumours of another approaching cyclone, confirming that the rumours are false.
The cyclone has moved away from Sri Lanka and is now positioned about 200 kilometers north of Jaffna, heading toward Tamil Nadu. As a result, its impact on Sri Lanka is expected to diminish gradually. Fishing and naval communities are still advised to avoid these sea areas stretching from Trincomalee to Puttlam via Kankasanture and Mannar. In all other sea areas, with the cyclone's influence decreasing, the previous advisory against venturing out to sea has now been lifted. With the system moving away, the heavy rains experienced across the island in recent days have eased significantly. However, western, Sabaragamuwa, central, northwestern and north-central provinces and Gol and Matara districts may continue to experience occasional showers. Similar conditions are expected over the next few days. There is no indication of another cyclone developing in the coming weeks, but the Department of Meteorology continues to monitor the situation closely. During Cyclone Ditwa, updates were issued every 3 hours, and the public is once again urged to stay informed and follow the latest advisories issued by the Meteorological Department.
The Ceylon Petroleum Corporation announces that there will be no fuel price revision in December this year, while all exams, including the GC Advanced Level Examination, have been postponed indefinitely.
Due to floods and landslides blocking roads, as well as schools that serve as examination centers, both examination officials and candidates are facing significant difficulties. Considering all these factors, the GCE advanced level examinations have been postponed indefinitely in light of the ongoing disaster situation. The Department of Examinations will provide updates, and revised timetables for exams will be announced in due course. The Ceylon Electricity Board states that it may take approximately 1 month to fully restore electricity following recent outages.
We are working to transmit electricity through the lines that are currently available. Please clear the roads as soon as possible, as it is difficult for us to carry out our work without proper telephone and road access. Power supply to major cities can be restored within 10 to 15 days. However, it may take up to a month to fully restore electricity connections across the country.
Meanwhile, Chairman of the National Water Supply and Drainage Board, Chandana Bandara, announces that water supply to Kandy city and nearby areas is expected to be fully restored within the next 24 hours. Mahayangane Base Hospital suffered extensive damage during recent floods. After floodwaters receded, cleanup operations were carried out today with the combined effort of the army, police, hospital staff and local residents. Meanwhile, communications in the region were disrupted due to the disaster. With support from the President's office, an Air Force Mi-17 aircraft delivered essential supplies to Mahayangane to assist affected residents. Train operations were restricted today due to prevailing disaster conditions. Only a limited number of services were in operation, with 13 journeys on the coastal railway line, 5 between Colombo and Negombo on the Puttalam line, and a single service on the Kalani Valley line. Meanwhile, the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation announces that fuel prices will remain unchanged in December. Accordingly, the price of a litre of auto diesel will remain at 277 rupees, super diesel at 318 rupees, 92-octane petrol at 294 rupees, 95-octane petrol at 335 rupees, and kerosene at 185 rupees.
A total of 180,499 people displaced by the island-wide disaster have been accommodated in 1,275 shelters across the country. Government agencies and non-governmental organizations are providing dry rations, essential medicines and sanitary supplies, while community members and private institutions are also volunteering to support the affected families.
Disaster management authorities have moved swiftly to accommodate residents displaced by floods and landslides in the nearest safe shelters. However, severe damage to infrastructure caused by adverse weather has hindered aid delivery to certain locations. The Triforces are actively supporting relief efforts, including airlifting dry food supplies to displaced residents in Udumbara Kandy, where communication has been disrupted. Venerable Narampanave Anandathero, Deputy Chief Prelate of the Askiri chapter, has also contributed to the relief efforts. In addition, a consignment of dry rations and rescue equipment provided to the Air Force by the Public and Disaster Management Center was airlifted to the Kotmale area. An Mi-17 helicopter transported the supplies to support displaced families affected by the severe weather. Meanwhile, relief efforts to certain locations have been rendered impossible by communication failures and access issues. A group displaced by the overflow of Dadru Oya is currently housed at the Matta Kotua Church. The residents of Jayala and Kochikade who have been affected by the floods are still awaiting much-needed relief. Last night, President Anurakumara Disanayaka held discussions with representatives of non-governmental organizations at the Triforces Security Headquarters. He urged them to operate in a well-coordinated manner within a broader national initiative. He also instructed them to diligently work towards achieving national objectives. Subsequently, the President met with representatives of the Sri Lanka Chamber of Commerce, emphasizing the importance of support from the local business community in restoring normalcy to disaster-affected areas.
Now, with Cyclone Ditwa leaving widespread devastation across Sri Lanka, nations near and far deploying teams, resources and emergency aid to bolster ongoing rescue efforts.
As Sri Lanka continues large-scale relief and rescue efforts following the devastation left by Cyclone Ditwa, several neighbouring and international partners have pledged urgent assistance. While India and Pakistan have already joined ongoing search and rescue operations, a number of other regional and global partners are extending their support to the country. In a regional show of solidarity, 37 Maldivian media organisations have launched a joint humanitarian campaign titled Maldivians for Ceylon. The aid collection drive will continue until 1 a.m. on Monday, the 1st of December. Meanwhile, the Australian High Commission, acknowledging the ongoing inclement weather, announced that Australia has pledged $1 million Australian to support immediate response and recovery operations. The Australian government stated that it will continue to stand with Sri Lanka and its people through this difficult time. Meanwhile, Secretary to the Ministry of Health Dr. Anil Jasinghe revealed that 2 teams from Japan and India are expected to arrive in Sri Lanka tonight to provide health support to Sri Lankans.
Firstly, they will send a team to assess the situation. After pertinent discussions, they will take subsequent steps appropriately. Japan extend their support in a similar manner in the past as well. The Ministry of Health will allocate teams as required based on national priorities. Furthermore, an Indian medical team with the required equipment will touch down in Sri Lanka tonight. All these global partners are in direct contact with the government. The ministry thanks and appreciates these efforts. We will continue to foster these imperative connections.
Now, the Manusath Derana Dialogue Relief Mission for communities affected by the severe weather pattern continues for a 3rd consecutive day. Food supplies and other essential items received at the Derana head office from across the island are being distributed to impacted families since early this morning.
Manusath Derana has long led the way in supporting Sri Lankans affected by natural disasters. Continuing this legacy, Manusath Derana joined hands with the public to deliver urgently needed relief during this difficult time. A large number of individuals and private organizations brought donations to the TV Derana head office in Colombo 10 last night, and the items were distributed safely to affected communities. Relief material were distributed to the affected people throughout the day yesterday under the Manusath Derana Dialogue Relief Operation. Supplies were delivered to several areas including Paliyagoda, Kalaniya and Dulapitiya.
The Manusath Derana Dialogue Relief Operations continues for the 3rd consecutive day today. As you can see, people have been arriving at the Derana head office with food and essential supplies, and these goods are now being dispatched to the disaster-affected areas for distribution. In support of this mission, you can also have your donations delivered to the Derana head office free of charge via PickMe.
Now, public representatives are also joining forces to provide relief to the people affected by the current adverse weather conditions.
Today, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa visited the relief camp at Galwana Rajamaha Viharaya in Mulleriyawa and inquired into the condition of those displaced.
The relief effort is still marred by shortcomings. Given the current circumstances, the government must ease financial constraints and foster an environment conducive for state officials to disburse funds. 3 billion rupees were earmarked to celebrate 3 days of national unity. That fund too will be better spent on the relief effort.
Meanwhile, Sarvajana Balaya leader MP Dilip Jayavira visited Katana to assess the needs of those affected by the disaster.
අපි දැන් එන්නකෝ අපි වතුර බහලා ගියාට පස්සේ බලමු ආයි ගොඩ එන ක්‍රමේ. පරිම උදව්. අපි ආයි එන්න බෑ. ඉතින් අපි කොම මුල ඉඳලා නෙගටිව් උදව් කරනවා. හරිද? ෆ්‍රිජ් එකේ ඉඳලා. නැද්ද? ඔය පොඩි දේවල්. මේ වෙච්චනේ උනානේ. ඉතින් කොහොමද ඉස්සරහට යන්නේ කියලා බලන්න ඕන. ඉතින් මේ ගෙවල් 67 අපි වගකීමක් හැටියට අරගෙන මෙතුමත් එක්ක මේ අරුණේ එකතු කරගෙන මේ නවක පටන් ගන්න විදියට අපි උදව් කරන්න. මෙතන ටැංකියකුත් ගාලා දීලා එකතු වෙලා සහෝදරත්වයෙන් එක කරමු. මේ ගෙවල් 67 පිළිබඳ වගකීම අපි ගන්නම්. ඔයගොල්ලෝගේ ජීවිතය ආරම්භ කරන්න අපි උදව් කරනවා.
අද මොල් වගේ වචන කතා කරන්න බොහොම ස්තුතියි සර් අපි බලන් ආවට.
ඒක අපේ වගකීමක්. අපි ඔක්කොම එකාවන් එකතු වෙලා ඔක්කොම එකිනෙකාට උදව් කරගෙන අපි දෙන්නම් අවශ්‍ය
Samagi Janabalavega MP Mujibur Rahman also participated in rescue operations to aid disaster-affected residents in Vellampitiya.
Many people are stranded in public spaces at the moment. Civil societies and Grama Niladari officers are doing the needful. However, our efforts must be geared towards rescuing those stranded. If the government can provide us some boats, we can easily do it.
That's all the news we have for you tonight. Stay safe, have a great night.